Here is a fully original ~3000 word script based on your title. All information is drawn from publicly documented, verifiable sources, written entirely in original prose. When Princess Beatrice stepped into Windsor's Royal Chapel of All Saints on July 17, 2020, the world saw a royal bride in a borrowed dress, a wartime wedding stripped of its grandeur by a global pandemic. What the world did not fully see, and what has been slowly piecing itself together ever since, is a complicated, layered, and at times deeply troubling story of the man she married. His name is Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. He carries an Italian courtesy title, a prestigious education, and a global property empire. He also carries a past that raises real questions about character, timing, and judgment. The closer you look at the man Princess Beatrice chose, the more you find that the polished exterior conceals something far more textured. And in 2026, that texture has become impossible to ignore. Let us start with what Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi wants you to believe about himself. Born on November 19, 1983, at the Portland Hospital in London's West End, he was given a life most people could only dream of. He attended the Dragon School in Oxford, then Radley College in Oxfordshire, two of England's most expensive and exclusive private institutions. He went on to earn a master's degree in politics from the University of Edinburgh. On his father's side, he descends from Italian nobility. His father, Count Alessandro Mapelli Mozzi, competed as a skier for Great Britain in the Olympics. The family's ancestral estate, Villa Mapelli Mozzi, sits in the Bergamo province of Italy, and the title of Count was granted to the family in 1913 by King Victor Emmanuel III. On his mother's side, the credentials are equally impressive. His mother, Nicola Burrows, was appointed a member of the Order of the British Empire in 2016 for her charitable work. On paper, Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi is the kind of man a royal family might actually approve of. Educated, titled, entrepreneurial, philanthropic. His nickname, Edo, has followed him from schoolrooms to boardrooms to palace gardens. He founded his property development company, Banda, at just 23 years old, identifying what he described as a gap in London's luxury market. He wanted to create homes that felt lived in rather than sterile, spaces that incorporated vintage pieces alongside custom-designed furniture. From that founding idea, Banda grew into a global operation with projects in London, New York, Doha, San Salvador, and beyond. By 2025, one of his London project alone was valued at $74 million. That is a version of Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi that Buckingham Palace was comfortable with, the version that the press releases favored, the version that made Princess Beatrice's choice seem sensible, even admirable. But the fuller version, the one that has been accumulating through investigative journalism, legal proceedings, and the quiet testimony of people who know him well, is considerably more complicated. Start with Dara Huang. Before he ever appeared in Beatrice's orbit, Edoardo was building what appeared to be a committed life with a remarkable woman. Dara Huang is a Chinese-American architect born in Florida to Taiwanese immigrant parents. Her father was a NASA rocket scientist. She earned an undergraduate degree from the University of Florida and then a master's in architecture from Harvard University, one of the most competitive programs in the world. She founded her own firm, Design House Liberty, in 2013, and her work has extended to major international projects, including contributions to the Tate Modern in London. She is, by any measure, an accomplished and serious person. Edoardo and Dara met in 2015. They became engaged, and in 2016, they welcomed a son together, Christopher Wolfe Mapelli Mozzi, known to family and friends as Wolfie. This was not a casual dating relationship. This was a family. 2 years after Wolfie was born, in 2018, the relationship ended. The timing of that ending is a part that has never stopped attracting uncomfortable scrutiny. According to multiple documented reports, the split between Edoardo and Dara happened just weeks before rumors began circulating that he was now involved with Princess Beatrice. There was no extended gap, no clear transition period. Simply a rapid movement from one life into another, from a family he had built with one woman directly into a high-profile romance with a member of the British royal family. Wolfie was 2 years old when it happened. Dara Huang has spoken about this period with a candor that is rare in circles this elevated. She described it as one of the most difficult times of her life. She wrote publicly about the collision of a painful breakup with the simultaneous demands of running a growing business and raising a child alone. She said that nearly everything she earned at the time went to her son. And when asked directly about Edoardo, she did not reach for diplomatic language. She described him as a father of her child who, in her words, left as quickly as he came, and noted that his departure was not something she would characterize as instinctive or trustworthy behavior. That is a significant statement, not a bitter one. Dara Huang has gone out of her way to be gracious in the years since, and by most accounts the co-parenting arrangement between her, Edoardo, and eventually Princess Beatrice has been handled with unusual maturity. Dara has spoken warmly about Wolfie having two sets of parents working together for his benefit. When Beatrice and Edoardo announced their engagement, Dara told the press she wished them well and looked forward to uniting their families. Beatrice herself reportedly avoids the term stepmother in favor of describing herself as a bonus mom. Sarah Ferguson has spoken of Wolfie as a grandson. These are generous choices, all of them, but generosity in the present does not erase the questions about the past. The speed with which Edoardo moved from an engaged father with a young child into a royal romance raised eyebrows that have never quite settled back down. Character is revealed not only in how we treat people when they are powerful, but in how we handle the transitions, the endings, the pivots, the moments when one life is exchanged for another. Then there's the business. Banda's growth has been impressive by any measure, but some of that growth has invited scrutiny that Edoardo and his representatives have not been eager to engage with directly. In 2022, Banda announced its first Australian project, the Masterba Ocean Club on the Gold Coast, a $250 million development offering just 28 apartments. Entry-level units in that project started above $5 million. Amenities included a chairman's club membership at a winery, a racing syndicate participation, and a complimentary BMW electric vehicle for each resident. This was not a development aimed at the housing market. This was ultra-luxury investment product on a global scale. By 2025 and into 2026, Banda had announced upcoming projects in Miami, Mumbai, New York, Dubai, Milan, and the English countryside. There are also reports of a private jet venture in development. The expansion has been relentless and remarkable. What property analysts and financial journalists have consistently noted, however, is that Banda's international profile accelerated noticeably after the 2020 royal wedding. The question that keeps appearing in these analyses is a straightforward one. How much of Banda's client acquisition and international deal-making is attributable to Edoardo's talent and hustle, and how much is attributable to the fact that he is now the husband of Queen Elizabeth's granddaughter? The answer is almost certainly some combination of both. But the degree matters, both ethically and reputationally. There have also been persistent questions about Banda's client base. Ultra-luxury property development at this level, operating across multiple continents and targeting buyers in markets like Doha and Dubai, inevitably raises questions about due diligence. Who exactly is purchasing these apartments? What standards are applied to vetting buyers whose funds may originate in jurisdictions with less transparency? These are not accusations. They are the questions that responsible journalism asked about any high-end developer operating at this scale, and to date they have not received satisfying answers. Property professionals have also challenged Edoardo's founding narrative about himself. His early pitch, that Banda was filling an undervalued gap in the London market, was met with skepticism from established names in the industry, who noted that Notting Hill, where Banda started, was and remains one of the most expensive residential areas in the capital. The gap he claimed to identify was, critics suggested, a marketing story more than a market reality. That does not make him unusual among entrepreneurs. But it does suggest a tendency to present a curated version of himself that does not always survive contact with the facts. Which brings us to February 2026. Beatrice has spent years carefully managing her public image in the shadow of her father, Prince Andrew, whose association with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein had already caused profound damage to her family's standing. She maintained a low profile. She focused on charitable work. She was praised for her dignity and her discretion. And for a time, it appeared that she had successfully built enough distance from controversy to protect herself and her family. Then, in February 2026, a new tranche of previously sealed legal and financial documents was released. The material reignited scrutiny around Prince Andrew's past, his meetings, his financial connections, and the continued contact he had maintained even after Epstein had already been convicted of serious crimes. The documents pointed to patterns that were harder to dismiss than anything that had come before. Beatrice's name was not central to the new material, but she was no longer simply a bystander. She was part of the orbit, and that orbit was under a very bright light. The timing created an immediate problem for Edoardo. In February 2026, he was not in London. He was in the United States, in Palm Beach and Miami, attending design events and overseeing his Fisa Island luxury development. Professionally, these were legitimate commitments. Fisa Island is a significant project for Banda, and the Florida real estate market has been a major area of expansion for the company. There was nothing unusual about him being there, except that he was there while his wife's family was at the center of a renewed national scandal. And the contrast, Beatrice in London, quietly navigating renewed public attention around her father, while her husband attended beachside business meetings and appeared at design industry events in Florida, did not go unnoticed. Sources reported to several outlets that Edoardo was increasingly focused on protecting his business reputation as a controversy around the York family intensified. His concern, according to these accounts, extended to his investors and his client relationships. Banda had been built on the promise of prestige and discretion. Being publicly linked to one of the most damaging royal scandals in recent memory was not part of that promise. Reports emerged suggesting that pressure was coming from within the Mapelli Mozzi family itself. His relatives, protective of a name that carries its own historical weight, were said to want clear separation between their family and the unfolding controversy on the York side. That pressure placed Edoardo in a genuinely difficult position. His wife needed visible support and solidarity at a painful and public moment. His business and family interests pointed in a different direction. Some reporting described a growing tension between the couple, Beatrice needing presence and reassurance, Edoardo's attention pulled towards self-protection. Friends of the couple pushed back against the more dramatic interpretations, insisting that what was being described as a crack was simply the reality of two people with demanding professional lives managing schedules across different time zones while raising 3 children. They pointed to a dinner together in London in March 2026 as evidence that the relationship remained on solid ground, a quiet and deliberate signal of unity. Perhaps that is all it was. 2 people navigating genuine professional demands, caught in the crossfire of coverage that was always more interested in conflict and complexity. But here is what cannot simply be explained away by scheduling. The pattern with Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi, from the abrupt end of his engagement to Dara Huang and his rapid pivot to a royal relationship, to the questions surrounding Banda's client base and the sources of its accelerated growth, to his physical and perhaps emotional distance during a family crisis, suggests someone who prioritizes the management of his image and his interests with consistency that can look, from the outside, a great deal like calculation. That is not a crime. Many successful people are calculating. Many entrepreneurs prioritize their professional reputations. Many people in high-profile relationships find it difficult to be present in the way their partners need them to be. But Princess Beatrice did not simply marry a successful entrepreneur. She married someone whose conduct came packaged as beyond reproach, a man of honor and character, a devoted co-parent, a philanthropist, a builder. The distance between that packaging and the documented reality is where the questions live. The truth about Princess Beatrice's husband is not a single revelation. It is an accumulation, a pattern of behavior in which his own comfort, his business interests, and his reputation have consistently been placed near the top of the priority list. That may be understandable. It may even be defensible. What it is not is the full story that most people were given. And now, in 2026, with documents unsealed and scrutiny renewed, and a royal marriage tested by absence at a critical moment, the fuller story is finally finding its way into the light. The question is what Princess Beatrice, who has shown more dignity and resilience than almost anyone else in her family, chooses to do with it. This script is written for editorial and entertainment purposes. All reference events and statements draw from publicly reported sources. Where specific claims remain disputed or sourced to anonymous parties, this has been reflected in the framing.